Do you have any advice for those in the audience right now who are maybe running their own companies? Do you have any advice on how to manage creatives, on how to manage a creative organization? I mean, you've run some of the best. As you say, a lot of the people that came up through your organizations are now running much of the music business today. Any tips for people about kind of how to think about that?
Look, the key is how to build your team and how you really do hire executives. No one's a one-man show. And therefore, apart from, you know, those that are going to be signing your orders, because I don't care what's happened with the digital revolution or how the delivery has changed. The basics are you better get a great artist roster, because I don't care how great you are at either promotion or sales, marketing, artist development. If you're not working with the goods, if you're not working with a record that's going to call out or sell, then you really have problems beyond your capability. So all of those that are leaders are being tested by the team that they hire around them.
One of the fascinating parts in the book is when you talk about going to Monterey Pop, and you know, there's this great opening to that chapter, you know, where you talk about sort of looking around and people are, you know, wearing what they're wearing, and some people aren't wearing anything at all. And I love the contrast. It's really, really well done. What were you doing at Monterey Pop? You were this guy that was a lawyer who sort of through a series of circumstances wound up being the attorney for Columbia. Columbia at the time is a record label that is releasing standards and musicals and, you know, and this sort of thing primarily, and yet here you are suddenly at Monterey Pop. How did you wind up there, and what was the epiphany for you?
Okay. I had been made the head of Columbia Records overnight. I never knew that I was going to develop. He is Scott Lieberson, my mentor. When he appointed me, he had 2 days earlier offered me the musical instrument group because I was the lawyer that bought Steinway piano and Leslie speakers and Fender guitars. So that it was a...
It's such an amazingly different time, right? Like, you could have this job where you buy instruments, or you can run Columbia Records. Like, you know, and yet look at what happened. It's really incredible.
So when his executive vice president said he would take musical instruments, exactly, he said, okay, you'll be the head of Columbia Records. And that's how I became the head of Columbia Records. So what do you do when you get a job like that? You just watch. You're not arrogant. You're not a know-it-all. I knew nothing. I'd worked in the business. I take all my responsibilities seriously, whatever it is. You work hard. Good lesson I learned growing up in the public schools of Brooklyn and New York. Fearful I could lose my scholarship. Never taking anything for granted. Assuming things will not happen. Never assuming things will make it. And so I made a deal. The first deal I ever made was with Lou Adler for Ode Records, and it was for a record, if you're going to San Francisco, wear flowers in your hair, and the artist was Scott McKenzie, and boom, it went right to the top of the chart. They told me there was a Monterey Pop Festival, first of its kind. Lou was running it. His best friend was Abe Summer, at that time, the #1 music lawyer in the industry. And so I went, not knowing what to expect. What you, Bill, were alluding to was everybody was, I didn't even know there was a revolution. I didn't know that people were dressing in robes and beads and flowers. And I'm there with my khaki pants and a white tennis sweater. And, but my life changed in seeing that there was a musical revolution, that the guitar had been amplified. Saw a group called the Electric Flag, Buddy Miles on drums, Mike Bloomfield on guitar, and then Big Brother and the holding company, never heard of them, came to the stage in the afternoon with, of course, Joplin. she was searing to the soul, electrifying, vibrating, compelling in every way. And I just knew, yes, if the word epiphany is to have any meaning, I knew that another lesson I learned relating to this, if you grow up in A&R, but you're the A&R person for Ray Conniff, Stephen Eady, and Tony Bennett, you're not going to worry about what's going on in rock. You just aren't. Even though you're an A&R person, they tend to specialize.
Yeah.
Today, there's a little blurring, I'm happy to say. You see it here, where you can appreciate not only rock, but you can understand the hip-hop revolution. It was very specialized. And so I knew that the rock world was not really part of the talent there. And so I said, okay, you got to move forward, you got to try it. And I did, I was determined, and I bought the contract of Big Brother with Janis. It was the magnificent sum at that time. It was $200,000, half of which the company would bear unrecoupably, half of which would be an advance against the group's royalty. And of course, what happened after that, having been exposed as a lucky break, I had luck very much a part of my career. Being in a law firm where the client was Columbia Records was a tremendous lucky break. Having the executive vice president turn down Columbia and pick musical instruments, and me getting Columbia was a one lucky break. And being early at Monterey, and then seeing a few weeks after at the Village Gate, Al Kooper's Blood, Sweat, and Tears with the horns and with the jazz and blues influences coming out of the Blues Project where Steve Katz and he had been. And then being called by Bill Graham and saying, Clive, there's a group happening here, you gotta see him. And it was Bill Graham. To this day, to me, one of the most admired people that I've ever met. And it was Santana. And so this kept happening. And you just follow your instinct. And whether it was putting Loggins and Messina together or listening to Billy Joel or seeing Earth, Wind, and Fire open for John Sebastian, in those Columbia years, without question, those cutting edge Hall of Famers, most of them, I learned that I did have unexpectedly an ear. And it gave me the courage that when I was fired from CBS, and of course in my book, I talk about how your life can be affected by extrinsic circumstances, how I lived through a witch hunt. And you never, when you get exonerated, get the kind of headlines that you get when they come up with the charges, the absurd charges that I was going to charge my son's bar mitzvah. Once and for all, in this book, I put the facts out there. And you just don't. But I have a picture of the check that I got from Columbia, CBS, a year after that. The pain of having to stay silent when this witch hunt was going on. From them, of $1 million for the future mail order rights to your new company, Arista Records. And so, yes, I mean, it's a journey. No one's life is up, up, up. And so part of life is your degree of resilience. Part of life is not to play a victim, but that you rise up. And in my case, not that I want to be on a soapbox, but the idea is I'm blessed. I don't concentrate on what you have to overcome. You expect there'll be things in a 4+ decade career. And you're blessed to have found a profession and a field that became your passion, that you love. I'm sorry, yeah.